Time now for the news review of this program. The Albanian Prime Minister warns that the MKO terrorist group must leave his country unless it stops its anti-Iran operations. In an interview with the German media, Prime Minister Rama said the group cannot use Albania to fight against the Iranian government. He said that Tirana has no intention of being at war with Tehran, and it does not accept anyone who has abused its hospitality. Last month, the Albanian security forces searched the MKO camp several times. Their first operation was on June 20th, when they entered the camp upon an order issued by Albania's anti-terrorism court in a probe into the group's illegal activities. MKO members violently clashed with the police and blocked their way. The MKO is a notorious terrorist organization that has conducted numerous assassinations and bombings against Iranian officials and civilians since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Mesut Khudabanda is a former MKO member who joins us from London. We also have Olsi Zekci, who's an historian and social activist who joins us from Tirana. All right, welcome to you both. Mesut Khudabanda, obviously too many questions to cover in this segment of the program, but welcome. And please tell us what is going on when it comes to what has happened to this terrorist cult organization and the way that the Albanian government is now treating it.
Thank you for having me. The Mujahedin came to Albania from Iraq with the understanding and a written guarantee, which was signed by Americans, by Iraqis, and the United Nations, and I was there, to come to Albania to dismantle, to be de-radicalized, and integrate in the society. It didn't happen, because when they came, the government in America changed, in the United States, and after that, instead of dismantling and de-radicalization, they gave them a camp, and they started doing what they were doing in Iraq, which is meddling in the host country. Now, by the information that has come out with the seizure of their computer, it is obvious that they are working against the best interest of Albania as well as European Union. This is not the first time. They have done it before by money laundering or groups against European Union, namely Vox party, that they filtered money into them to bring the far right up in EU, which is not tolerable in any country. If they were in any other country, still they will have to obey the rule of land, which they're not doing it. And Albania has got every right to contain them and stop them from illegal activities. That has partly to do with Iran, but partly not, because the evidence is that they're working against the interest of Albania as well as the European Union.
Okay, so when we take a look at what our guest there, Ozzy, has said, in addition to the anti-Iran activities, which he didn't really talk about as much, but also that it was working against the EU and the state of Albania, it's been there for a few years. I'm guessing that Albania was aware of what it was doing, at least maybe partly after their presence on its soil. Why did it take them this long to actually react and now involve the police against them?
Well, as I have said in previous interviews with your channel here, is that Albania is not an independent and free country. So when it comes to its foreign policies, and in particular to the Mujahedins, the Albanian government has always taken the order from Washington. And being an American colony, even in what is happening nowadays, the order has come from Washington. The Albanian government, our security services, they have proven and they have sent to court a number of Mujahedins for their crimes. Since their relocation to Albania, Mujahedins have involved themselves in drug dealing, illegal trafficking of immigrants, keeping hostages within their camp, abusing the human rights of their own members, and in particular, threatening Albanian journalists. civil society and scholars like myself who were investigating their crimes. But as Mr. Khodaband explained, everything that we have seen about the behavior of the Mujahideen in the past years have been depending on the dictate that the Albanian government gets from Washington. During the era of the Trump administration, it was the Americans who allowed the Mujahideens to misuse Albania and to launch a number of terrorist attacks against Iran. The year 2018, as I have mentioned before, was a very particular year when the Mujahideens, together with the Israeli government, did their best on pushing Albanian government and security agencies, but not only in Albania, even in Kosovo and North Macedonia, to curtail the activities of Iranian civil society and organizations in the Balkans so that Israel can come and can take their place. Now, things have been committing in the past years are very serious, but the most problematic crime that the Mujahideens have done is terrorism, which is punished civil code, inciting to war. In a colleague of mine, Mr. Georgi Thanasi, Albanian government in 2023, we listed to our government the crimes that the Mujahideens were doing from our territory. If an Albanian citizen makes calls for doing terrorism or jihad against a foreign country, he will be immediately arrested and jailed for up to 15 years. Okay. The Albanian government has jailed dozens of Albanian Sunni Muslims, even minority Greeks that we have in the country, for activities which the Mujahideen have done. All right. But unfortunately, yes.
All right, let me just get to our guests, and I'll come back to you and get at you with another angle. First of all, Masud Khodaband, did you agree with what our guest there has said, that the Albanian police coming into the camp was based on the orders given by the U.S.? Obvious question would be, why has the U.S. decided to, at this point, if you agree with them, to place such an order? And then, given the depth of the accusations that you have leveled against the MKO terrorist cult, these are pretty heavy, I guess, rules that they have broken. Why does Albania still hold them on their soil? Why don't they just kick them out?
It took a long time to take them out of Iraq. It wasn't easy to deport them. It's not easy to deport them from Albania because nobody else will accept them. But what the Americans, which obviously they are working as NATO members with Albanians, accepting, and they have put it out that they are accepting what the government of Albania is doing, is because they are working against the American interest as well. At this point of time, Mujahideen are working with the neocons against the democratically elected government of America, of United States. That is not something to do with Iran, it's to do with anyway. It is the case that the police has gone there with the understanding that there is evidence. Put aside the evidence that they're working against Iran or Middle East, or they're plotting against, there's evidence that they're working against the Democrats in United States. It's not the first time.
Like what are they doing? Can you give us examples of what they're doing?
They are pushing the agenda by doing money laundering, doing intelligence for the part of Trump. And this evidence that
for the part of, I'm sorry, for the part of, did you say for the part of Trump?
Yes. The evidence.
So the MKO is working on Albanian soil against the U.S. for Trump, in particular against the Democrats.
In particular against the Democrats. Mr. Salih Barisha, who was the president when they came in. By the way, he got 10 million for bringing them in as well, which then later he was involved in money laundering and these things, and he was banned from going to United States now. He is changed his side for and against Mujahedin 10 times. Now again is for Mujahedin because he's approached Trump. The situation is that they are using, it's not only them, there's others as well, but they are part of a cabal that are using against the Democrats. That's not something that the Americans can tolerate. No way they can tolerate that.
Okay.
These documents that they have been seized are being combed by the Americans now. Obviously, parts of it will be classified, will be passed to European Union, and then back to Albania. There might be a lot of things that has got to do with Iran as well, which will be something to deal with. But the main issue is what they are doing in case of interfering in the United States, which is not tolerable.
Okay, well, I don't know. If you take a look at it at a business point of view, in a sense, Olsi, I think they're out of business. So what are they going to do, sit around all day? If they're working against the U.S., which I'm sure is a source of money, and also against the EU, which we have seen the way that the French have reacted to this also, which is in a very negative light, I think their sources of funding is drawing to somewhat of a close, and they don't have anything to do. Or do they? If you can explain that further for us.
Yes, and for people who followed the speech of Rajavi today in her premises in Paris, you could understand a real desperation. There is a big problem nowadays for the future of MKO. It seems that the Americans have ordered our Prime Minister to give an end to the hostile and militant activity that the Mujahideen do against Iran. But as the previous speaker also mentioned, the Mujahideen have become a major problem for United States as well. They are in coalition with what the current US government calls white or domestic terrorism. So there are many right-wingers, many people who support Trump, who have been paid by the Mujahideens. And now things are looking very bad for them. And this is a major headache for Albania and the European Union. If the sponsors of the Mujahideens, which some people believe that their money probably comes from Saudi Arabia, if this money will be cut, a big question mark and headache for the Albanian government is who is going to sustain them. These people, they do not work, they do not know how the outside world functions. They can be a good suicide bombers and terrorists, but for them it is very difficult to integrate themselves in a civil society. And the signals that we're seeing from Prime Minister Rama is that the Albanian government, pushed by the Americans, will probably move to dismantle the Mujahideen camp. So far, nothing has come about, but the charges that the Special Court against Corruption has raised against the Mujahideens are very serious.
Okay.
If our government will continue with its charges, many of its commanders must end up in jail. But the question is, what will happen with the rest of the group?
Indeed. My final question, I'm not too sure how to address this with you, Masoud Khordabandeh, but I'm guessing that you have reliable sources that you have made this claim against the MKO or MEK terrorist cult of working against the U.S., in particular the Democrats. I'm guessing that your sources are trustworthy. So is that something that we're looking at in terms of getting more of a reaction from the U.S., perhaps through the Albanian government, as our guest there said, that maybe it's just a matter of time to have it disbanded?
We will have more coming out. What is important is that when they went to camp, shortly before that, they moved Mariam Rajavi, the head of it, to France, which she was banned from European Union. The camp is to be left without her And obviously, she's not somebody that they can live in Albania, so they will take care of her separately. But the camp is not trusted anymore. And as Mr. Yassi said, will be dismantled. It's the best for everybody anyway. The average is about 65.
Thank you.
But the sources I'm talking about, they are, and they will be out soon, because parts of
Do you want to give it out now?
No, I can't go into that much detail, but the evidence that has come out includes parts of some of the speakers that they have not announced their full fees for speaking for Mujahedin. Say somebody has gone there, has announced that they have got $40,000,
okay.
but in reality they have got $80,000. So there is embezzlement in those parts, which they are neocons, and they either will have to come to a deal or they will go to court.
All right, that's very fascinating. Thank you. Thank you for the information. Masoud Khodawanda, former MEK member from London, and Olzi Zekshi, thank you so much, historian and social activist from Tirana. Thank you to you both. And with that, we come to an end for this edition of the News Review. Thanks for tuning in.